And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening as we get ready to talk about what is going on in the world of sports. For those of you checking in live, it is NFL schedule release day, so definitely keep an eye on that and let us know in the comments here and in some of our other social pages which games you like, which games you don't like, and everything in between. It is DJ joined as always by my co-host Kelsey, and for this episode, we're going to take a page out of our rants, rankings, and recaps playbook, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently. There's gonna be a little bit of a twist. Is this one's gonna be all ranking, a singular ranking, and you know what? We're gonna keep things in the bloodlines for today. We got Marvin Harrison Jr. coming to the NFL, Frank Gore Jr., Antonio Gates Jr. is coming up, Bronny. All the talk about like family lineage. We decided let's take a look at the top 5 pro sports families of all time, and we're gonna try and condense that incredibly long list of outstanding athletic families into just 5. We've narrowed it down to pro sports families to try and make it easier, which did not. It really didn't. But it's you know what, it maybe made it 1% easier. So I'm excited for this one. We got ourselves a long list of families to take a look at.
Yeah, this one's really fun. As you mentioned, we tried to limit this one. Was not easy. As we were just off air just a minute ago, before we started going live, and I was still questioning my picks. So much so, I pulled a complete family off the list that has a viable excuse for being on the list for another family that I completely left off the list, who also has a viable reason to be on this list. So this one's
Exactly.
very interesting. So yeah, I can't wait to do this one.
And basically, in advance, we apologize to the families that are left off the list that have absolutely 100% business being on this list. We have 18 pounds of potatoes and a 1 pound bag right here trying to make this one work. But we're going to try and have a little bit of fun with it. And before we get into it, this list is brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports. Get yourself a free $20 off with your first purchase. Use code BellyUpSports. Get yourself a free discount on your first purchase for any. Maybe you want to see some of these families, tickets, see them in their concerts, anything like that. So we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, all the way to the top. I will kick us off with my number 5 family, and we're gonna head to the boxing ring for this one. We are gonna go with the Mayweathers for the first one. Everyone knows about Floyd Mayweather Jr. 50 and 0, considered the greatest of all time, whether just defensively overall by some, the most bolsterous athlete arguably in the game to date, both in any sports game, even though he has been retired for like 5 years, still one of the most bolsterous athletes, known for the amount of money he makes in. But there's more than just Floyd Mayweather Jr. because there's also Floyd Mayweather Sr., who's a really good boxer in his own right. But then he also has uncles Roger and Jeff, who are both world champion boxers holding multiple titles in their own right. So that's well over 100 wins between the four of them, at least 12 different titles, if I'm not mistaken. I did not do the math. That's a lot of hardware, a lot of money, and a lot of punches thrown. So we're gonna throw the Mayweathers in at number 5.
I like that list. They definitely had a consideration on my list. Um, the biggest reason I didn't put him on the list is I felt like outside of Floyd, the rest of the family of Mayweathers was not as well known. Um, now that is I in the world of fighting, very well known. In the world of like motivation and sports, very well known. But general sports knowledge, I didn't feel they were as widely regarded as the rest of the families. And mind you, I am splitting so many hairs right now. There are less hairs I'm splitting than on Floyd's head.
Less
Uh,
than on my head at this point, like.
no, it is. Yeah, it was. It's a really good family. But yeah, I did leave him off my list. So I don't know. Take that for what
Well,
it's worth.
we'll go ahead now, Kelsey. Who are you plugging in at that number 5 spot?
I am going with baseball royalty. If you know, you know. Um, it is the catcher trio that is the Molina family. I have Benji Molina, World Series winning, multi-time Gold Glove winning catcher. We have Jose Molina, who is a 2-time Gold Glove winner, and then probably the most famous of all, Yadier Molina. It's been since 2002 until last year was the first full season without a Molina behind the plate.
Doesn't feel real.
Wild to think about. The amount of Gold Gloves these guys have won are insane. The amount of Cy Young pitchers these guys have caught for is insane. The amount of no hitters they've caught for, by the way, it's over 3. Still insane. And World Series rings, I believe between the 3 of them, it's 5, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 6. I might have missed one. But yeah, I believe it's 5 World Series rings between the 3 of them. So, this one maybe is a little less well known than the Mayweathers, but I feel like in baseball royalty, this family deserves to be up there in Molina
Those
Brothers.
who've been on the diamond, they know about the Molinas, and that's crazy. I think 22 years since we've or yeah, about 22 years since we've had a Molina behind the plate, or that we've had a Molina by the plate for the first time in 22 years. This is the first time without one. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
20 solid seasons, 20 seasons straight where there was at least one Molina brother that was a regular starter in the MLB.
It's absolutely crazy. I forgot to mention the one rule we had for this list too is it has to have at least 2 people from the family that made it to pro sports. So that way you can bet, well, I picked the Brady family. They combined for 7 Super Bowls and 5 Super Bowl MVPs. There's no cheating that way, everybody. So that is the one thing.
I
That's the
picked the
one
LeBron
rule.
Jameses.
You know what? Give it like 4 months and you might have a very one-sided, but it would make the requirements at that point. But I'm gonna
But
head
yes,
now. Okay.
go ahead.
Guys, I'm gonna head now to number 4. I'm gonna stick with baseball as well too. I'm gonna go with maybe not royalty, but rock stardom, if you wanna call it that. I think we're gonna go with the Griffeys. You got Ken Griffey Jr. and Senior. That's 2 Hall of Fame MLB players, or will be Hall of Famers if Junior isn't already. The first father-son duo to play together. That alone, I feel like it gets you in consideration as well in MLB for sure. Not only that, they're both multi-time all-stars, MVP caliber. I think Griffey Jr. led in home runs for a year. Rock stars on top of it, like some of the most well-known. And throw on top of that, there was also Trey Griffey who played in the NFL too. The lesser known grandson of Senior as well. So they have very, very deep roots, but I'm gonna give the Griffeys number 4. Very close, but I'm gonna give them number 4.
No, I like that. Griffey's were another family on the list that I left off, and
We really have like a 15 long list. We're just only allowed to pick 5.
yeah, it was tough. By the way, I want to throw one out up here. Hector from Insert Name FC with the Maldini family. Absolutely, they could receive consideration on my list because a lot of the people that listen to our show don't necessarily follow soccer outside of Hector. I wasn't going to throw the Maldini family up there just to be like, ooh, Maldini family, but then
They
everybody's like, what? But
they made the list that
worldwide,
isn't the list.
yeah, wise, I think this one's definitely up there. Maldini family would be an argument for a top 5 family up there.
100%.
But yeah, so sorry. But yes, the Griffeys 100% deserve a top 5 list position on most lists. They did not deserve it on my list because I knew for a fact that you would be putting them on your list, so I didn't have to take that bump and put them on there. Um, God, that's so hard because that's a family that I really wanted to put up there. But no, my number 4, I am going to the hard court. I'm going to basketball on the hardwood, and that is the Curry family. Dell, Steph, and Seth. You have top 2 shooters for sure. Um, I'd say of all time, as far as the purest shot goes, and Dell and Steph. And Seth is an underrated contributor on a lot of teams. Has not won a title yet, but still underrated contributor. Between the 3 of them, I think Steph has all the titles, but that's okay because between the 3 of them, they have multiple winners of the 3-point shootout. So Dell did win his own 3-point shootout contest back in the day. But yeah, no, I think this family deserves some royalty up there for a basketball family. That's more than just 2 people. That's the other part of it. Um, for me, I didn't put the Barry family up here because I'm not rewarding a granny shooter for my list,
Mhm.
but I will reward the purest shooters. And one of those guys revolutionized what is basketball today. So I'll take this list. I'm gonna put Curry's here at number 4.
Absolutely. It's that's a good one too. You can't really, even if Steph leads the way, that is still a very good company. People forget Dell was that dude as well. And yes, to answer the comment, we do sometimes chat with fans as well too. But that's gonna take me now to number 3, and I'm gonna go with a very this one wins almost exclusively on numbers and pedigree. We're gonna go with the Matthews family. You got Clay Jr., you got Clay Sr., you got Clay the third, you got Bruce, you got Kyle, you got Casey. You have 7 members of the Matthews family that have played in the NFL. Clay Jr. with Green Bay got the 1 Super Bowl for him. You got, I believe Bruce is in the Hall of Fame. Clay Jr. might make a Hall of Fame case as well. You got 25 Pro Bowls amongst all of them, I believe, something like that. And there's still more to them. You got Jake Matthews, who's currently playing, and there's 2 more that are on the way that, well, they could be in the NFL before we know it. So on sheer volume alone, I feel like I'm gonna give the Matthews a spot in here. I'm gonna give them at 3 because there's some talents in that family too. Like, they are all really good. There's a lot of really good players there. So, Matthews for me will have the most number of people on the list, that is for sure. So, Matthews at number 3 for me.
I like it. Yeah, I didn't put them on my list because I'll be honest, they went to USC, so I could care less about most of the Matthews
That
family.
is a com there was one that went to Oregon, but other than that, that's an incredibly reasonable reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, the guy literally looked at him, and grew up disliking strongly USC. The Golden Staley did not belong in Southern California. That was
Mm,
my opinion, and I still stick to that. If you can't play a game on the road in November against your vaunted rival, you don't deserve a trophy.
mm,
So, anyways, um, I digress. But no, I think the Matthews family as a whole absolutely deserves to be on this list. They're not on mine. Again,
mm,
gave my reasoning. Stupid. But if I'm splitting hairs, I'm splitting whatever hairs I want to, and they're probably the gray ones here. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. So yeah, I don't blame you for putting the Matthews here on the list at number 3. I definitely don't mind it. Um, but actually, surprised we've gone through 3 each, and
mm.
I'll drop my 3rd here in a moment. But we do not have any of the same so far, so
Very interesting.
kind of
Yes.
surprised.
Mm,
So my number 3, I'm going again back to baseball royalty as a guy who grew up watching baseball. Um, I'm not going with the father son duo of the Bonzes. I thought about it. Too much asterisks involved there. So I will go to the Iron Man family themselves, the Ripken family. So Cal Jr., obviously, Mr. Iron Man, longest streak of playing continuously in Major League history, and probably will never be matched again. Um, Billy Ripken, his brother, played 12 years in the MLB. Not a bad player by any means. He definitely had his own roles on teams, but he was a part of the 24-man, 25-man rosters for 12 seasons. So insane. And then Cal Ripken Sr., who literally has an entire little league based off him. It's not the little league. It is literally called Ripken Baseball, and it's based off of Cal Ripken Sr. So, yeah, I'd say there's a little bit of a claim to fame there for the Ripken family. So yeah, definitely going with them at my number 3, which I think for both of us means that the top 2 are pretty heavy hitters. If we're putting the Ripkins and Matthews families at 3 respectively, I feel like we might have some heavy hitters up here at 1 and 2.
100%. It's getting really crowded here at the top, that's for sure. There's a lot of firepower here under this category. The Ripkins were a tough one for me too. For me, it was like them or the Griffies, them or the Griffies. I'm gonna hope Kelcey does the Ripkins, otherwise we're gonna get yelled at rightfully so. So I'm glad that gamble for me paid off because my sports gambling's been a roller coaster. I'm glad that this gamble paid off for
Oh,
me that one of us got it wrong.
also, I left off Cal Ripken Jr.'s son, Ryan Ripken,
Hmm.
who should make his way into the MLB.
Right around the corner for sure. So that's going to take me now to number 2, and I'm going to stick with football. I'm going to go with arguably football royalty as well. We're going to go with the Manning family. The head honcho, Peyton Manning, and those 5 foreheads, I mean MVPs, lead the way. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. Still has the single season touchdown and passing yards in a single season record for more than 10 years ago, despite the extra game and all the rule changes, still holds that. Breaking Tom Brady, who broke his initial record with 49 touchdowns. When he retired, I think he was, if not one, he was 2 in almost all major career passing stats, yards, touchdowns, all of it. Revolutionized the game. I don't, this show doesn't need to be that long of me listing Peyton Manning's superlatives. We all know how good he was leading the way. And then there's his brother Eli, who won 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, a few really good seasons here and there too. Ironically won 100% of his playoff games during those 2 Super Bowl runs. So when he got going, he was basically, you could say he was a prototypical better playoff than regular season quarterback. He was the stereotype for that. Defeated the undefeated Patriots in that game, we all know. Beat them again 4 years later. Basically single-handedly kept Tom Brady from having double-digit Super Bowls, him and Nick Foles at this point. On top of that too, 2 number 1 overall picks. And then there's, the dad, Archie Manning, a very high-level quarterback with the Saints that was just on the Aints that wore bags over their heads. So it was a lot of superhero that no one really paid, that didn't really amount to much. He had to carry the team on his back. And then there's Arch Manning on the come up too. We imagine we'll be playing in the pros at some point. There's a little projection there, but So we're gonna go with the Mannings at number 2. Peyton definitely carries the water pail on this one, but when the second in line has 2 Super Bowl MVPs and 2 Super Bowl champions or 2 Super Bowl championship trophies, you're carrying the load pretty well. And then Archie Manning is 3rd in that, arguably 3rd in that procession, and those who know, they know. Anyone who's seen it, they know that one. So we're gonna put the Mannings in number 2. That is almost quintessential football royalty, and they're just getting started. There's a lot more there's a lot more to come in the years. We're gonna see a lot more Mannings walk through the NFL halls.
Yeah, the Manning family is a really good one. You listed off a lot of really good accomplishments there. I'm gonna hold my tongue on what I have to say here because they're on my list still,
Hmm.
um, but they're not number two. So I can say with that what you will. Um, so my number two, I'm going back to the other hard court, the one with the white lines and the green turf usually, and I am going with the Williams family. Biggest reason I chose the Williams family over the Mannings at number two is because there were two of them versus multiple members of the Mannings. So that's the difference in my rankings here. I had no reason to put the Williams at two other than that. Because flat out, these are the two greatest tennis players in modern history, especially women's game. They revolutionized what is the women's tennis game. Combined, both have ranked number one for multiple weeks. Both have ranked number one in doubles for multiple weeks. Combined 122 singles titles between the two of them, with a combined 45 doubles titles. Ironically, Serena had one more than Venus because she had another doubles partner that they won a title over by like beating Venus in that. Combined 30 Grand Slam singles titles and 14 combined Grand Slam doubles titles, two Grand Slam mixed doubles titles, four gold medals, and yeah, uh, earnings of over $100 million combined just on the tennis circuit between the two of them. So absolutely revolutionary athletes in their own right. Vaunted competitors. They hated playing against each other because it means one of them would lose, but it also means one of them gains bragging rights for the next however long until they played again. They have their own movie named after him, King Richard, based off their dad and his teaching methods. Despite whatever that was, it created two great tennis players. Um, there's a lot more Williams family members as well that are not included on this list because they did not go professional in tennis, but still, it's worth noting that these two revolutionized what is women's tennis, made it competitive, and actually started, I'd say, legitimately started a real argument for can women's tennis players beat men at all? Obviously, if you have watched any of that, Serena has her own opinions on that. She thinks, you know, no, because of the athleticism. She doesn't think she could beat a top 250 ranked male athlete. But I mean, hey, we'll see. I'd love to see that rematch though. Her and her peak versus a top 150 male tennis player. But yeah, so I put the Williams here at number two. It's really 1B. It's not even a full number two.
Well, mine, spoiler alert, I have the Williamses at number 1 with Venus and Serena. You listed off a bunch of great accolades. The only thing I'll add to it is if you combine their career records, you have over 1,600 wins with over 80% complete with over 80% win percentage. Obviously, some of those were when they played together, so it's not a perfect science. I'm doing this very simple math because that's still a lot of wins no matter what way you slice it. And probably the most, in my opinion, one of the most fun ones of them all. Venus Williams is number 2 all time in prize money, all time rankings. Serena Williams is number 1. So you got the 2 all time money prize money earners on top of it. Both have been ranked number 1. Career titles, you can combine them. It's over 100. I know some of them they won together in doubles, etc. It's 73 and 49. You combine them. Either way, whatever way you slice it, they're both outstanding. You have arguably, as you mentioned, two of the top 3 or 4 women's tennis players of all time. You can make a case the top 2, depending on who you talk to. So for me, everything you just said, plus a little bit on top of it, I have the Williams at number 1, slightly edging the Mannings, but like you said, 1A, 1B, 1B and a half, 1A and a half, however you want to slice it. I think they're the pinnacle when it comes to they're both the pinnacle of sports when it comes to sports families.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that they revolutionized the game. Not a lot of families can say that a member of their team revolutionized the game. I've had one on the list already, the Currys, two with the Williams. I guess you could say three with the Ripkins. Bolinas didn't really do anything for the game. They just were really good defensively.
Hmm.
But my number one, your number two, the Mannings. Safe to say, Peyton did revolutionize the game. He revolutionized what it means to be a play caller at the quarterback position. Everybody knows the popular saying, Omaha. Well, Archie did that before him. He was a scrambling quarterback in New Orleans who was running for his life all day long and unfortunately did not get an opportunity to really compete for a title with New Orleans. But you know what? He's still remembered very fondly from all of his contributions there. Eli set a precedent for what happens if you don't want to go to a team in the draft and put the power into players' hands, which is unique. That's something that doesn't really ever happen. Never really happened before outside of John Elway and Steve Young, really. And then Eli Manning. Hasn't happened since Eli, really. Not that I can think of. Um, might happen with Arch when he comes out. Speaking of Arch, he set precedent for not signing his name into the NCAA football game because the fact is the Manning family believes they try to want to make it make him experience a normal college life as much as possible when you're a 5-star top quarterback recruit going to Texas, but still have a relatively normal life. They don't need the extra $500, whatever. That their theory, and it makes sense. Their theory makes sense. It disappoints me because as a college football fan,
As
I
a
want to.
future NCAA football player within the next 3 months.
Exactly. So,
Mhm.
but no, I do think the Manning family as a whole, because of what they've done for the sport, and there's more than two of them, is why I put them here. If Richard Williams had done something in the tennis game, I think I would have put the Williams family here at number one, but he didn't. Archie did do something in the NFL. Eli has definitely done something in the NFL, despite being a giant, and you could honestly say a giant killer when it came to getting into the playoffs. Once he got in the playoffs, good luck stopping him. Getting to the playoffs was always the issue. And then Peyton, yeah, just absolute talent across the board. You you hit the nail on the head, if you will, with those four heads. Definitely had a head for the game. Um,
100%. He always was. He's a very heady player that maximized everything they had to him. But that's what we have for our top 5 sports families, with many, many more we would love to add to this list, but we limited down to 5. Got a few people drop in the comment section below who they think could be added. Go ahead and let us know some other ones we might have missed or some that you take out and replace with. This has been our short rankings episode for the week. We do appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, and be sure to tune in next week as we continue to talk about what is going on in the wide world of sports. We will see you all again next time.